Hi, everyone. This is the Growth Mindset podcast. We have here our very special co host, Patrick Brown, and I'm your host, David March. All right. All right. So, in this episode, we're going to go through an article called Transforming Old School Leadership, Building a People First Approach.
Mm,
And a lot of people have dealt with this old school approach. It's not the first time I'm talking about this, but it's something that I think everybody can relate with. Everybody
absolutely.
can really agree on.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, you dealt with your own
Yeah,
fair
all you
share
guys
of
suck.
old
Bosses
school bosses and such.
absolutely are the worst. Yeah, that I'm with it. We need a new approach because currently, uh, yeah, people take the idea of supervisor as such an authoritative side without it being so much leadership. I mean, authority is necessary, but leadership causes people to fall in line as opposed to authoritative figures always have to try and chase and keep people in line. So, yeah, we need a new approach to the whole situation.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's what we're going to talk about here. Um, and you know, essentially just to kind of lay it out, often what old school leadership relies on is fear-based tactics, reactive management instead of proactive, treats people as numbers or robots. Um, they're either they're robots with interchangeable parts, or they're just people that a company just lays off and doesn't really think about anything else. Maybe they've done overhiring. That's a whole
Hmm.
nother issue. But um, what what the solution really is to see individuals as unique talent, see individuals as people with unique talents, strengths, and people that have their own personal lives.
Yeah,
And um,
I
a
think,
lot of times, what we see is people getting burnt out, people not getting engaged in work, people getting bored. That's they're on the phones a lot. They're not really engaged, and
yeah,
who's really responsible for creating a culture or an environment that's not
I,
engaging. It's really the
yeah.
it's
I was
it's
gonna say, piggybacking off of what you were saying about everybody
yeah.
having their own personalities, I think that is a good segue of the reason why we had our previous conversation about Myers-Briggs as well as astrology to get into the understanding of seeing people as more than a number, but a much more multifaceted piece in the puzzle of, your company and how they exist within that ecosystem of the company. So, yeah. Just wanted to touch on that.
Agreed. Yeah, and the other thing is sometimes we see like the old school leadership approach being used um in still a wrong way, but they're trying to do the right thing. Like they try to create a story to inspire you and say, oh, we're
Mm.
going to do all these things. But what people don't like is
Mhm.
when that's not really real. It's
Mhm.
like it's an inspiration that's not grounded in reality. So what do I
Yeah.
specifically mean by that? Oh, we had Jimmy last year made $250,000 a year. And it's like Jimmy's been here for 20 years. He's been doing this for the last 20 years. He knows all the systems. He has relationships from the last 20 years. And the inspiration that you're trying to give me that when I make all this money is not grounded in reality because I'm just starting and haven't been here for 20 years.
Hmm.
So it's a kind of a manipulation that's not the fact based or not really. It's like it's factual for him, but for
Yeah.
anyone that's in your same situation, it's not really going to be
It's
working out.
very specific, very narrow, It's a carrot dangling that
Yeah,
getting to it is just a little out of reach right now, at least. So,
yeah, yeah. So. what we want to talk about also is building trust with employees, building goodwill, um, and there's like the kind of more of a fear-based
Mm,
motivation where at the sign of something going wrong, they
hmm
resort to taking away your commissions or some bonuses or some particular privileges you have.
Or t
Um,
talking to you like you a child.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we've had it in I won't mention any names, but my previous job, I seen the supervisor yell at someone and had the nerve to point his finger and start wagging in a guy's face. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, that is the level of respect. So, yeah, I guess some people
yeah,
just only form of authority has been apparent, I guess, in their psyche, and it starts to act out in the same idea when they are in the professional place, unless they're properly trained. So,
yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, and yeah, so just like what you said, the kind of invites abuse, which is never good, right? And it could be it usually is either kind of the verbal or the emotional kind
hmm
of abuse because once you get things physical, it's obvious that this guy's got to go, right?
yeah, it's gotten
Um,
way out of hand.
way out of hand. So what we typically see is
Getting
um,
a spanking at work. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Uh,
that's
you
so
know, they
that's
called
not
you into the office. They called you into the office for what? They got the belt.
got the belt. It's so exactly. So we,
Yeah.
we we typically don't see those forms of typically don't see those forms of um discipline or
hmm
that sort of thing. What we typically see is when a leader of this nature is trying to exert control or power, is they start to do micromanagement
Yeah.
or they undermine people's intelligence or they don't see them as capable.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and or they cut back hours or they stop communicating with you and those type of things and
hmm
that really doesn't foster any kind of goodwill or trust between the employees and doesn't really make them want to work harder for you or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that is something I know firsthand, just coming from the military. You had to inspire people to really go hard. I mean, considering the job that you would be asking them to do and what you would ask them to sacrifice or give up, you had to inspire people towards that whole idea of leadership. And yeah, non-trusting, not believing in your men, believing women, people, persons, to keep it correct, not believing in the team and starting to micromanage. One, it burns you out because you're overworking. And two, it causes a major downfall of the connectivity, camaraderie, and everything that needs to makes a team work will be destroyed through that way. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
100%. I agree. And then also, so then we also have another aspect of it is it's kind of like the curse of doing a good job. Curse of doing a good job, or really it's almost like they are disciplining the high performance people. So what happens is, let's say you're someone that is really, really good employee there, consistently go over and beyond, um, the call of duty, if you will,
hmm
and you're completing tasks faster than others. You're doing things more efficient than others, and you're so you're getting like let's say 8 hours of work done in, let's say, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, what happens is you are being you're doing your job better. And so instead of, saying, okay, what are you doing specifically? It's making you able to do this, and
Hmm.
let's share it, and let's make this something that everyone can benefit from. And great job. Here's a
Increase
raise, or
productivity. Yeah.
yeah,
And
get some increased productivity. Exactly.
I know where you're
Um,
going because I've been
yep.
that guy who's gotten dumped on because I actually did more.
So that's another one. It's like, you're doing more, which is a good thing. But I think that the issue with the kind of the old school level of leadership is the ones that are thinking, okay, how can we get the most out of our employees? It's similar to like them being like a washcloth that you could just squeeze out, we're trying to squeeze more juice out of these guys. So how can we get the most out of our people? Um, and not pay them any additional extra, or things like that. Um,
Hmm.
then of course what happens there is that that doesn't foster loyalty or engagement, and it leads to burnout too, because now you're burdening the person out that you are supposedly, um, you know, happy that they're doing such a great job.
Yep. Um, I was gonna say, and I think unfortunately sometimes in capitalism it is just that uh when it comes to profit margins, if you can get the lower level guys to increase productivity, making a greater profit margin, which normally is shared between the shareholders, but as it trickles down, the less people it cuts to, the bigger the payout. So if you can avoid paying the actual productive employees any extra money and throw them a pizza party or say, good
Oh, pizza
job.
parties. Oh man, those pizza parties. Let me tell you right now, had the number of pizza parties I've had. Nobody wants the pizza.
Everybody wanted a check. And then the supervisor themselves is supposed to get some, but let's say his boss finds a way to give him some other trivial idea. The idea becomes that that guy at the top gets a bigger cut of the profit margins that came from quote unquote better leadership, but really came from squeezing some employees until they hollered. And yeah,
Yeah,
gotta do away with that.
yeah, gotta do away with that one. Um, and the third one that people really, I think, have a challenge with is the delegation without knowledge or guidance.
Mm,
Um, this could be said in a lot of different ways. Um, it could be kind of like one idea is kind of like they own like phone operators,
yeah.
where they were just kind of like there's like 50s, maybe even like that, maybe like 30s, who knows? That's the kind of the visual.
Patching in calls.
Yeah, patching the calls. So just like they go from over here, they take this one, patch it in. Okay, you're in. Okay, so using that same idea, it's like, oh, you need a marketing person? Okay, here, marketing person, done. w- Marketing has so many different layers. What type of marketing person do you want? Oh, we have a marketing person. But like, what do you mean? We don't have a marketing person. You just put him
Hmm.
here. So yeah, delegation without knowledge or guidance, and then also the secondary issue with that is
Hmm.
standards. If you have no idea on what type of marketing you want in the first place, what standard are you going to be living up to? Because you didn't even know what type of marketing
Hey.
person we wanted.
Is he doing a good job? He's doing the job. That's what matters. He's doing the job, and that's all we can ask. Oh man, yeah, that is very true. I never even thought of that. The first one is definitely. The second one is yes. when you do a job, even sometimes with maintenance, bidding on some things, I had to call other people in to bid because it wasn't like I couldn't do the job, but the actual expertise to judge the amount of material needed and man hours necessary to complete the job came from someone who had more experience on doing the job. So therefore, standards, my personal standards even on bidding would have been terrible because I wouldn't have had no clue, even though I could complete the task. And that's why you want a much more professional person in the job as opposed to, hey, Joe said he'd like to try.
Or
And
yeah, or simply get the coaching, get the training, in order to know
hmm
what the standards are, you know? So
yeah,
that's the whole thing. And that happens everywhere. That happens in a lot of corporate places.
yeah.
And sometimes what we find is, you know, um, here's a second scenario. Someone kind of throws a job on your desk, and you say, "Okay, can you figure this out? We're having a hard time figuring this out." And again, it's like, figure what out? What do you want to get done? This project needs to get done. Okay, what's the project about? I gotta go. Right. So so
You got it.
there. So okay, there's like a positive aspect. You can say, well, you can be engaged in the mystery of it. You're a self-starter,
hmm
you're take initiative and all these things, and you say, okay, well, this is what I think needs to get done. And then you show the person that gave you the project, and they're like, oh, you did it all wrong. Oh, I did it wrong. What did I
That
do
you
wrong?
did that. Nope.
You're supposed to do this, this, and that. Oh, well, I had no idea. You just kind of put it on my desk. S- So, and then okay, so then okay, now you're kind of going through iterations, and then eventually you can get it right. And that's what most people kind of do. They go
hmm
through that and they say, "Oh, you didn't do this wrong. You kind of did this right. All right, let me switch that. Oh,
But
you didn't do this right. You did this one wrong, but these are cool." So you go through these iterations, and then of course the skill that you have with this particular field will be a determining factor on how many iterations it needs to be done. Because if
hmm
it's if it's maintenance, it's like, well, you've been in maintenance for a couple of years now.
yeah.
You do know kind of the ideas, but they didn't have to go this, so they didn't have to go through so many iterations with you.
Yeah. I was gonna say that um the thing that I do notice with those situations a lot of time is when you come up with the first blueprint, the honest truth is they didn't know when they send you back to the drawing board and tell you what could be better, it's because they expected you to create something for them to critique as opposed to them knowing exactly what it was supposed to be in the first place. And I feel like that a lot of time is also why it's a burnout for the employee because you have now in old school leadership, you have positioned yourself as the authority that knows. But in the beginning, you gave no instructions because you didn't know, but you didn't say that. You just gave the pep talk of, oh, you're one of those swift guys. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I have real full trust in you. Put all of this like accolades in a person's lap, thus making them dive headfirst into something they don't know anything about, and then browbeat them all the way to the finish line of making them feel like, yeah, now you've done it the way that I wanted you to do it. As they take the winning one and go, yeah, yeah, I beat it out of him. He's got it. But it really was your dogmatic nonstop because, and I feel like these are also other tactics to keep workers from feeling proud in themselves or seeing that we're developing together. So I'll take the hits when you bring an iteration that's not so good and the company don't like it. I'll take the hit. I'll be the buffer for you, but I'm trusting you to come up with it. That's a different scenario than you're always screwing up and I'm trying to correct you and check you. So yeah, I feel like a lot of times these tactics are all psychological to keep the worker in their place as opposed to showing them they're a valuable asset to the company. And that's part of the burnout.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, those are great points. Um, and yeah, I mean, setting a high standard doesn't simply mean demanding more. The person that is telling you how to do these things, they need the coaching too. So it's like a trickle down effect. It's like the real way of doing this, right? Um, and I guess as we're switching over here now to the solutions or the approach that is the kind of the better approach, the approach of like kind of the new school leaders. So as we make this transition to the new approach that we're trying to get at here, what we see is um, for the new school approach, we find leaders that invest in themselves through coaching, mentoring, and training themselves in order to support their team members and how to
Hmm.
do it correctly. Um, in other words, a high performance culture isn't just a product of demand, it's a product of investing in yourself, expanding your own capabilities, and dedicating resources, tools, or technology to develop the team and make the processes a lot easier.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, the first thing is really shifting from the fear to trust-based motivation.
Okay.
Um,
So
and so that's
these are basically the solutions on how to go from an old school boss into a leadership style.
yeah, old school boss. So like I mean, we could say new school just to
Hmm.
create the good opposites there. New
Hmm.
school, old school.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you just an actual good leader.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. A
Um,
boss versus a leader. I think that would be the difference,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So,
Yeah, so um yeah, with the first one, like setting clear goals and giving constructive feedback, creating a collaborative environment instead of one that's like pointing and using, punitive tactics.
mm,
You know, you celebrating employees' achievements and that sort of thing.
mm,
All right.
got you.
And and so the next thing is, of course, investing in coaching and training. Um, by setting up, mentoring or um, really empowering others. There's a great quote that's um, it's kind of like a wordplay,
Mm,
but it's like instead of being in power, you want to empower those that you have, those people,
hmm.
the team that you have to be lifted up in power. Like to be
Gotcha.
empowered, you know.
Okay.
I totally butchered the quote, but
But I got you. It's probably something real smooth and slick with not being powered, empowered, the being or
yeah,
some smooth way to say it. But the point is, I get you. You want your team to be empowered by you. And that's the difference between what we say a leader and a boss is. A boss is the type of person that is from the back letting y'all go out and they sit in the back while the leader is leading from the front and showing you the way, so
yeah,
you are
yeah, because
empowering
they
the
they
team.
received yeah, because they received the coaching, training, and knowledge of what it is. Like, um, to go back to like the delegation thing
Hmm.
before, it's like a lot of people, let's say, put money into marketing and they say, oh, this isn't working, but it's like the real way of doing it is doing it yourself, finding out how it works and then giving it to somebody else to do it because you have some understanding of what it is or not. So
Yeah, absolutely.
um yeah, and that's also another way of that's another way of getting not being scammed, like not being scammed. Um, because
That goes true.
if you know what it is that you're hiring for, then you know if the person's scamming you or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's very important.
With maintenance and auto, it's the exact same thing. If you don't know what you're paying for, yeah, they can get you.
Yeah. That's another thing. So yeah, and then establishing clear career progression plans. You know, the um, most common approach nowadays for most people to get ahead in their position is to quit, quit their position.
Mm,
And that's because you are creating a fear of loss for the employer.
mm.
And
That's your best leverage.
that's your best leverage. Your best leverage is you're creating a fear of loss. So that's why people quit all the time. And then they say, well, I'm looking to get a 20K increase for the additional work that I'm doing. Obviously, you can see I'm a high performance employee and I'm doing all the things.
Hmm.
Um, but now you just put more work on me. Somebody else quit, and now I'm working longer, and
Hmm.
you're still not paying me anything extra, so I'm leaving.
And you freed up a salary. That's all I'm saying. See, once that guy left, there's extra money floating around. So,
Yeah, and it's money enough. So instead of that happening, developing clear career progression plans for the people.
mm,
That's what a leader would do to support
absolutely,
his people. Um,
absolutely.
so that's implementing a transparent, clear
So,
pathway.
I guess developing that as a leader would be developing a career plan financially that what values do you add or things that you are able to do or complete that actually can quantify to financial productivity for said company and then set those uh things out as, as goals. So once you actually hit these different goals, you're making the company more money. Thus, we give you a raise or a percentage up based on, you know, because
Yeah,
sometimes I've seen things in company where people get incentivized to get raises, but they're not actually making the company better. It's anyway, but yes, those are
yeah. I mean,
clear
I think
plans.
that's also a big piece there too, and it needs to be like cross collaboration or cross department collaboration. Because you'd have to get all different people involved. You'd have to get,
Yes.
the CFO or the person that has the budget. You have to get
Yep.
the CEO or the person with the vision. You have to have the COO and the person that's set up the operations
Hmm.
and kind of get everybody in the room to see what it is that we actually do. Um, so, you know, that would be the task,
Yeah.
and again, it's like how important are the people? If you're not
Yeah.
willing to do that, then
Exactly.
you know
Exactly.
that's what it is.
And you know what? I think, and more importantly, is it's bigger than the people. It's to the point where how important is the company? It's almost like saying, I care about my body, but I don't care how I treat my cells. You get what I mean? Like a cell makes the body, cells make the body, but if you treat the cells like they're expendable, then you're kind of killing the body in essence. You deter people from wanting to work at the company because I was going to say the last job that I was at, one of the reasons why they're having a hard time hiring new people is because the word is out that you're not a good place, you're not a great atmosphere for people to work in, and you have some bad practices that now you're now starving the company itself of even people to recruit because of how bad you have allowed your leadership to go. So in the end, it's if you're not going to do it for the compassion and empathy of your employees, do it for the fact or the business and marketing aspect that you want a company that's going to survive and live and want to have more people, the best of the best, knocking at your door because of such a great atmosphere and great work environment that they're ready to come and be part of your company as opposed to whatever scraps you can get because all the good people know that their worth is better than what you're offering. So, yeah,
Oh
these
yeah.
are things that goes deeper than the employee.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, so we got the so essentially we're talking about more of a trust-based motivation instead of a fear-based. Um we're talking about establishing clear career progression plans, investing in coaching, training employees, and then practicing purposeful delegation.
Hmm.
Um, you know, if there's a difficult task that you need to get done, um, you know, work with people that have some foundational knowledge of it, so you can train yourself, understand the task that you want others to do, so that once they do it, you can kind of understand what it's like or what's going to be next, or you could provide some kind of guidance.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so pretty much that is the
Yeah.
article for today.
Okay.
Um, the ideas are really to take care of one another, to put some more human into the human resources, to have a people strategy.
Eggs. You're so right. I really feel like this is highly beneficial. I mean, we are, you coach careers, and this is in some ways it is the symptom of an issue that's created in companies, meaning careers m- career coaching would be a lot more directed to building a person up inside of the company in which they exist if the company did better as far as leadership goes. What I'm saying is that most people switch careers because of bad leadership, thus creating a demographic of people that need to be coached into a new career. Whereas if companies were able to get some type of training or understanding that they need to implement these practices and start to move with the times, just like we talk about diversity and inclusion, DEIs, um,
Mhm.
I feel like a whole nother category, which is this is as a sector in companies that is completely missing. Someone who understands company culture and atmosphere of a company, which is the life force, it's the air, it's whether it's stale or fresh in the company is determined by this. This is like the air that flows through the company. And if your atmosphere is not properly coached in a way that allows employees to feel free to progress. And some people who are not as ambitious, still just understanding the standards of staying within tolerance of what the company needs you to do. So your job is not, clear goals so that you could even evaluate, not to say that, anyone wants to be fired, but you would understand because you would see that what levels or what things you're not meeting, what criteria you're not meeting, which leads you to being terminated. Thus, it gives a slight, which we would call accountability toward, a much more competitive accountability towards
Yeah,
your
and
day
more
to day
transparency, and much more
and trans
transparency.
exactly, so that no one's fired blindsided. As well as that guy getting a promotion, you're not in a loss. Like you know exactly what he did to get the promotion. You saw him do and hit the goals to be promoted. And I feel like this is a area that is just none of the companies I known had anybody that was handling these type of things. And I think it's just something that as we go into the future of business and continue to be create environments that include everybody and use their workers to the highest potential, this is something that definitely needs to be implemented. So
Totally. Yeah, thanks everyone for
Yep.
a great episode. Thank you, Patrick, for a great episode, and we will see you next time. Boom,
All right.
boom.
Take care. Growth mindset.
Growth Mindset Podcast.
Absolutely.